Hello again, Style fans. Welcome back to our coverage of the Season 17 playoffs. Tonight we have some action from the Targon division for our Sunday showdown. This time, there will be no second chances. About in the first round of the lower bracket is what awaits us as our second seed, the Rat Pack, are about to face off against our 10th seed, Mythic Rising. Both squads finding themselves in a difficult position after losing out in their respective matches last week. There is now only one best of three remaining between these teams and the end of their season. And so the gauntlet, the grind, the knockout stage starts right here, right now. My name is, of course, Crewman44. I am joined in the caster room tonight by a very cool cat, Cam Castings. Cam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. And yeah, as you were saying, this is the lower bracket. This is where, the tension is at its highest. I mean, you do not get another chance from this point. And so you have to bring your game right here, right now. Show what your roster can do.
Absolutely. I will say, quick note any people who have not watched the World's Finals yet, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, just mute me for a quick second while I say something here. But yeah, basically, we saw a very notable Rat Pack suffer a crushing defeat last night as the Shy was not able to make it happen against the greatest of all time. But
Yeah.
hopefully, this Rat Pack right here that we do have on the Rift tonight still has some fight left in them because we will need to see that, right? They were a very high seed coming into the postseason here in the Targon division. And it would be a real shame to see them exit the tournament so early on.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. When you have these regular season dominating teams that never make it to playoffs, I mean, we see it almost every year in every region, but it always hurts to see those teams fall out because it just leaves you with those questions like what could have been? What could this roster have done better if they just showed up just a little bit more in one of their games?
Yeah, absolutely. And for this other side, Mythic Rising as well, right? They had quite a difficult opponent in their first round. They were going up against the number 3 seed here, Rats with the
Mhm.
Spliffy, in their first playoff match. And they were able to put up a pretty good fight against that team that was much higher ranked than them on paper. So excited to see what they're going to be bringing out tonight as well. And maybe if they can kind of keep up that form and just improve a little bit on what was going right for them last week, then maybe they can make the upset happen tonight. And that would obviously be very, very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And we immediately are off into draft now. We have the bands being started up. Rat Pack, obviously on the blue side here, it will be interesting to see what they pull out for that B1. Blue side having a very, very high win rate over the world stage will ban away the Zac.
Yeah, Zach, definitely an interesting option to get taken away first here. Not something that we see too commonly in the ban phase, but perhaps just a little bit of a comfort pick as we look across here to see if I can find some stats on the Zach for us. But taking a look at the next band, the Talia is going to be removed by Mythic.
Yeah, and I mean, Talia ban makes just so much sense. There's so many champions that are just so innately paired with dashing that really just requires they need that dash to continue forward, and Talia just completely shuts them down. Will take that away, especially with the Yone from Rat Pack ban. They do not want to see the side lane pressure that we have seen this champion pull off.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty what a good Yone can make happen with that champion. It just doesn't really feel fair sometimes, in my opinion, what the champion can do. So getting that removed here from blue side, I think makes some sense. The Soraka now going to get banned away. This is some of these bans are a little bit off the wall, Cam. I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Rat Pack, their support most played in solo queue recently is that Soraka, and Soraka is such
Oh.
a neutralizing factor in laning phase that it's hard to really play around and gain the lead that some bot lanes want to have into the silence, into just the healing and just the pure neutralizing as we see a Silas and Belveth ban.
Yeah, absolutely. And glad that you mentioned the Soraka being one of the most played for the Rat Pack support over there, especially in a high stakes, high pressure match like this. Comfort can often be the determining factor in, or one of the main determining factors in contributing to whatever the outcome may be. So banning that comfort away for Mythic Rising, I think makes a lot of sense. Lilia now being considered as the B1 option for the Rat Pack will be locked away.
Yeah, and I mean, with Lilia, you're starting to look towards an AD jungler, but the Rel Jinx almost immediately locked in. Potential flex there on the Rel as well gives you that freedom to change around your bot lane, but really prioritizing the Jinx, and especially after her passive buffs, just the team fighting prowess she can bring to a team with Rel.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the initial buff was walked back a little bit. Jinx can't stack that infinitely anymore, and I believe only gets one charge or one stack from turrets. I believe is how it works now, or it
Yep.
doesn't. She doesn't gain a stack; it just like maintains her current level of excitedness, something like that. But it is interesting, right? Because I do feel like there's a number of picks in the bot lane that are actually very, very viable, very strong right now. So I think it does kind of come down, honestly, to a bit of player preference and how you decide to pilot that lane out just in general. And the counter pick now being given over to the Rat Pack for that bot lane looks like Ashe Tarek is going to be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, Tarek, kind of a little bit lesser known, but a good pick into the Rel. But that kind of mostly extends to laning phase. If they flex this Rel jungle, you're stuck with a Tarek open to be counterpicked now, which could
True.
be a little scary. But the Yasuo pickup, I guess they're just looking for the Rel Yasuo combo, but leaving that up, gonna ban away the Camille, gonna leave open mid laners though, which is a little scary for that Yasuo, unless it may be getting flex top, of course.
Could be, could be. Of course, Mythic Rising are going to have that R5 pick. So if they want to hold the Yasuo flex to the end of the draft, they could have that option. Of course, the Rel flex would be the alternative if they wanted to hide where that Rel is going. But the fact that they do see the Tarek on the other side kind of leads me to believe that it might be that solo lane counter pick that we see at the end of the draft for Mythic.
Yep. And Gnar now banned away, just looking to kill off some of these really dominant top laners, Malphite as well, that kind of shape how you then have to play the game. Like there's plenty of top laners and good picks, but champions like these, you have to keep a special eye for. You have to think of something else that they're able to do that not many can. It definitely helps shape the game, as Maokai now being hovered for Rat Pack ban.
Yeah, the Maokai, honestly, the fact that he has made it this far through the draft may be a little bit surprising to some, but the Kennen actually is going to be the option for that last choice being removed. Clearly, the Rat Pack not expecting that Yasuo to be flexed into the top lane. And a number of different options being hovered by Mythic. It seems that, oh, the Renata. Okay, so the Rel is indeed going into the jungle.
Yeah, then you have the Jinx Renata bot lane into the Tark Ashe, which I think looks very good. Renata definitely wants those melee matchups, so she can mess around with them. And you'll now have the Ashe slows on the Renata ult, which could lead to some funny looking situations.
Definitely something to look out for. And Renata Jinx in general is just such a strong pairing, right? Giving Jinx that extra time to try and find that reset to carry through the team fight can be very, very valuable. But now the solo lanes for the Rat Pack, Syndra in the mid lane, answer into presumably the Yasuo, and now blind pick for top. Could it be the Darius that gets locked away?
Yeah, Darius Hover, that's very scary though, because Darius is very counter pickable. They're definitely thinking on it. They're not sure, but they do ultimately lock in the Darius, feeling confident. Immediate Cho'Gath answer.
Wow. Seems that Mythic Rising were ready for that Darius to come in. I do have a couple of stats here for UR next. It seems to be a very prodigious Vayne top player, actually. Or no, actually, maybe a bot laner generally by trade who's just playing top on this team. It's not entirely clear to me. But either way, we do have some Darius stats here. 11 games this season, but Cam, only a 36% win rate.
Yeah, that's definitely not the greatest you want to see from that solo queue stomping-esque champion. But then again, 11 games is also such a small window to look at that.
True.
It's hard to fully know what there, but also, just to mention, not only is Cho'Gath just a decent answer into the Darius overall, you do then get the Cho'Gath Q into Yasuo alt pairing. It's kind of knock up city bouncy hounds for Mythic Rising over here.
That's true. There is another knock up there for the Yasuo to work with, which can be pretty dangerous for the Rat Pack. Definitely with those immobile carries as well. Ashe and Syndra, right? Neither one of them with any dashes to speak of to try and get out of the way of those knockups and avoid getting their breath taken away by the Yasuo. So I think a lot of pressure this game is going to be on the Taric pick to try and defend those carries and prevent them from getting one shot at the start of these team fights.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking. This Tark is going to be key. It's going to be the central force of this comp. Can you get your ult off before Mythic Rising can wombo combo your entire team's health bars down to nothing? If you can manage to pull that off, then you block all of their initial damage, and then this team doesn't have much sustained damage apart from the Jinx. Once everyone's gone in, you're kind of just stuck on cooldowns.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I think the extended fights certainly are going to be more favored towards Mythic Rising, assuming we do get into that stage of the game on relatively even footing. Although the Lilia shouldn't be underestimated as well, right? Was, of course, the B1 pick for the Rat Pack and can do a lot of consistent damage in her own right, later on in the game when she does get those couple of items online. So, there could still be some angles there, but the long and the short of it is, as we've already mentioned, I think these team fights will probably be decided very, very quickly. It's going to be determined by whether Mythic Rising get that sort of initiation that they're looking for with the Yasuo.
Yeah, and I'd say both of these teams, more so than most comps that you'd expect to see, very much rely on every part of the comp. They need everyone there. And so picks, I feel, are going to be super important for both sides. If either team can turn the fight 4v5, I think both of these comps have such a hard time operating in a 4v5 that the team with the player advantage will be much more favored than you'd expect out of a normal 4v5.
Certainly. I did want to take a quick second actually to shout out Tons of Bagels, the jungler for the Rat Pack, in their 1-2 match loss last week against Renga Tea Time in the first round of playoffs. Bagels was the big difference maker in the one game that the Rat Pack were able to win, was 6-2-3 on Belveth and got every single objective on the map. Dragon Soul, both Heralds, and 2 Barons to close that game 2 out at right around 30 minutes. So the Lilia B1 here for the Rat Pack, clearly lots of priority being placed on getting a comfort pick locked in here for the jungler. We'll have to see if Bagels can kind of make that happen for the team and reward those draft resources that have been invested.
Yeah, and just to even point out, Tons of Bagels played a Lilia game 7 hours ago in solo queue. It
How did
can't
that
get much
Lilia
more.
game go?
He won it. He went
Okay.
8-5-14, won the game. So you can't
All
get
right.
much more comfort than having just won a ranked game 7 hours ago on the champion.
Yeah, clearly feeling the pick right now. Be interesting to see what they're able to get done into the Rel. I think the Lilia does have a pretty favorable matchup there. Realistically, it's going to be hard for Rel to find and engage on such a high move speed target, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that is going to play out. But this Jinx Renata bot lane is definitely seeming like a real power point for me for the side of Mythic Rising. So that could be absolutely a huge factor in this game as well. But overall, Cam, which one of these two drafts do you prefer? If you were playing in this game right now, do you feel like either team found a meaningful advantage in our draft phase?
I think that just Mythic Rising have a better way to operate around their draft versus what the Rat Pack can pull out here. I think just in team fights, they have just a slight advantage if everything is completely equal. But if things will stay equal around these important team fights, that remains to be the question.
Indeed, we shall see. Some pretty interesting comps on both sides. And honestly, we do like both compositions quite a bit. So it will, of course, come down to what happens on Summoner's Rift, as it always does, guys. The lower bracket for the Targon division here in Season 17 of Style will begin right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, here we go for game number 1 tonight between the Rat Pack and Mythic Rising. The Rat Pack on the blue side here for game number 1. Mythic Rising to meet them from the red side. Nothing too much going down here at level 1, Cam. Is there any runes or summoner spells that you'd like to draw our attention to?
Yeah, I mean, everything looks pretty standard at the moment. Obviously, Cho'Gath opting for the Comet and Doran's Ring. He's going to go that more poke-centric lane bully build to try and just neutralize what the Darius can bring in the early game.
Yeah, certainly. I think it makes sense given the matchup, right? You're not really going to be wanting to trade with the Darius to get those grass procs. It's just a little bit too scary. So having the Comet for a little bit of harass and a little bit of safety with the wave clear, I think is going to work out pretty nicely for Mommy Mooj up there. Should we just call him Mooj? Let's just call him Mooj, yeah?
Let's just call him
We'll
Mooj.
just agree right now.
Although,
Mooj and Soj.
I would like to point out, Syndra did kill a ward there. So Syndra will be hitting level 2 in this matchup first. Potential angle, but against the Yasuo, it is hard to find something of
It
that
is
nature.
pretty slippery, and having the passive shield early on can make the Yasuo pretty difficult to burst down in those early levels before Syndra gets access to the full kit. We'll see if that ends up being significant, as we see Grandpa actually dashing in here. It's mommy, daddy, and Grandpa on this team. It's the whole family for Mythic Rising. I'm just now noticing that.
Yeah, baby and step bro, they've
Oh my
changed their name
goodness,
to
it
all be a
actually is.
family.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah,
Maybe
we
we
saw
should go with it then. We will go with we just call them mommy, bro, grandpa, daddy, and baby.
yeah, I guess that works.
I guess. I mean, they went through all the trouble of you know, synchronizing their names like that. So I feel like we have to respect that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Yasuo there, we saw him kind of diving in a bit. Even though Syndra hit levels 2 first, Yasuo,
Now the grandpa seems to have hands so far, from what we can tell. Syndra getting chunked down pretty low, burning through those health potions already, and actually going to be forced to take even an early recall here. See if Lost Cause is going to be wanting to burn that teleport to get back to lane a little bit quicker, or if she's just going to be willing to sort of sack some XP. We'll be using that teleport.
yeah, that's a big teleport advantage that Grandpa now has in the mid lane. He's kind of free to mess about with the lane all he wants, trade his HP for a resource, as he looks to do
Hmm.
just that.
We do have a gank coming in here. Tons of bagels. This is the big carry player that we saw last week, looking for that first blood in the top lane, and it will go over. You Are Next picks it up. It's the top laner for the Rat Pack, making it happen early on.
That's so good. You are next on the Darius, getting the early kill because of the gank in the matchup that he was counterpicked in. That's just showing great signs. And if he can keep this up on the Darius, an AP Cho'Gath is not going to be able to have the impact you wanted it to have this game.
Absolutely. The Darius exactly where he wants to be so far in this game number one. We'll see those Scuttle Crabs traded off. North Crab going over to Bagels after the successful top gank. And Step Bro finding the South Crab. Looking for a gank in mid now. Will be Grandpa finding the knockup. Gets the flash off the Syndra. Bagels is here now. Looking to make this an honest 2v2. But the Lilia early on, so squishy, taking so much damage. That's going to be Grandpa flashing in for the last hit. And we're all tied up 1-1.
It looked so good. Yasuo takes a turret shot there right as Bagels is right wrapping around, but it just doesn't matter. The damage and the CC that Yasuo and Rel have just completely neutralize it. This Tark going in.
Pretty defensible position right now for the bot lane of Mythic Rising. But yeah, Bagels there just trying to help out the mid laner. But by the time the Lilia arrived, Syndra was already pretty much pushed out of that fight. Had already used all of her spells and wasn't really able to help as the Lilia just gets cut down.
Yeah, and I mean that's the issue with you take the green jungle item, you take the tankiness, but you don't receive that tankiness until it's complete. You're very weak and squishy on the Lilia early that you kind of require just to farm up a bit, get an early lead somehow, but falling behind like that after the top lane play could have been worse overall, but definitely not what they wanted.
Yeah, the Syndra struggling to put together that lost chapter, and Berserker's Greaves, as we can see, already completed for the Yasuo. Definitely a pretty good spike for the Wind user early on. Lilia, at least, does have that lost chapter completed after the full clear and the successful gank. So Bagels, despite the death, still relatively on pace.
Yeah, for sure. And now showing top is on the ward, so I would expect Cho'Gath to happily walk that off, but we'll have to see. I'd assume Cho'Gath in this matchup is just going to want to eat minions for a while. Not expecting any crazy angle on the Darius, but perhaps can maybe find something with that execute.
Perhaps. We shall have to see. I think it would require You Are Next to overstep a little bit, or perhaps get ganked himself. That could allow the Cho'Gath to come back into this matchup in potentially a pretty big way. We do have a lot of mid priority for Grandpa, right? We see the Yasuo grouping up with the jungler, searching around in that blue side jungle, seeing if they can suss out where Bagels is located. They weren't quite able to find Lilia, I don't think. They do have a lot of control right now over that top side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, very good that Bagel doesn't get found there. At this point, if you drop down as the jungler, your team can just rush to this dragon, Hex Tech Dragon. You're very happy to start the stacking, get it picked up, but Step or Bro just waiting. Now, Mommy has kind of roamed down.
It's hard. Okay, it's serious cast elimination match. Not
Very,
good.
very
Okay.
serious.
Okay, yes, Rift Herald spawning as well in just about a minute's time. That Rift Scuttler will be present right up until about then, when Shelly does make her appearance. We'll see once that other neutral spawns onto the map if either one of these teams is going to be willing to make any early aggressive moves towards them.
Yeah, and I'd love to pay attention to this bot lane. Once they hit level 6, just the amount of playmaking that you have on both sides increases tenfold with all their ults on the table, that you can just see the angle Tark is looking for, just constantly pressuring them at these weird angles, constantly keep them on their toes.
Yeah, Hextech Amumu. It's been playing it out pretty well so far. It does feel like Dragonvin and Hextech have been able to maintain a decent amount of priority in this bot lane. The farm, of course, dead even so far, so not really finding any kind of advantage in that department, but still having some control over that bot lane is generally a good thing. And will allow them first move towards this dragon.
Yeah, they get to utilize that with their current 1k gold lead. They pick up the dragon. They'll be just starting off very well. The moment the dragon falls, I expect Bro to start up this Herald using the pressure and the push that they have in mid and top, but it's just looking down mid lane, potentially going up for his camps into a Herald soon. I'd expect Herald to be favored for Mythic.
Yeah, a little bit surprising to me there that the Step Bro is not willing to make that move towards the Herald, despite having full knowledge, right? That Bagels is on the bottom side of the map, having just taken that dragon, but just not really prioritizing the Herald. Perhaps worried that Darius could move over and have a big impact or something like that.
Yeah, and we see Bagels walked into Mythic's jungle there. It's now an engage.
Daddy is a little bit in trouble. Will have to flash away because the slows from the Ashe auto attacks were too much for the Jinx to kite out without the use of the summoner spell. Here comes the jungler, though. Step Bro Maniac looking for the engage. Will find the Magnastorm onto the support, but Hextech Amumu still had the flash, and Tarek will easily be able to get out of that situation.
Yeah, and I mean, Soj burns Flash and Cleanse. That's very bad and a very good angle.
Oh, last breath, not underneath the turret. The Grandpa Bogus able to get a good chunk there, but not quite getting Syndra into lethal range just yet.
Very, very good from Bogus so far. The amount of pressure he's created in an Assassin versus Control Mage matchup has looked very good so far. Just playing that well, has the CS lead, and will hopefully for him continue to keep that up as Herald going the way of the Rat Pack as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely, Cam. Unfortunately for Grandpa and the rest of Mythic Rising, stun is going to come through onto the baby down here, who does still have the flash, likely. Oh, not going to have to use it. Will hold on to it, actually. And now Dragonvin rooted up. Ashe still does have the flash, though, as well as the Tarek ultimate will come through. Both will be expended to get that AD carry out to safety. But the teleport as well from Mom coming down from the top lane. A lot of resources used on both sides. Nobody goes down.
Yeah, and I mean, that's absolutely great for Rat Pack. That was your response to giving over that Herald, and it doesn't work out. You get the Flash, you get the Ghost, and you get just all the sums down in bot, but you still lose the Herald. So it'll really come down to Mythic Rising. Can they utilize these timers? Can they punish this Ashe for flashing? Because if they don't, then you've just given over the Herald for practically nothing in return.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was mentioning just before that fight did break out in the bottom lane, his Grandpa, like you were saying before, Cam, has done a great job of putting on the pressure in that mid lane. But unfortunately for Mythic Rising, they haven't been able to transition that really into anything else, right? Both of those early neutrals now have gone over to the Rat Pack. And the side lanes seem to be going in their favor as well. Not to even mention the jungle CS, where Bagels has definitely been outpacing Step Romaniac.
Yeah, and speaking of the jungle, Bagels goes for the Rod of Ages on the Lilia, really trying to play that more tanky style since they don't have a full-on tank. You have Darius who's frontline, but ultimately you don't want a Darius getting chunked by the whole team.
True, yeah. Bagel is potentially playing a little bit more of that frontline role. Grandpa once again underneath the turret with the last breath, but the unleashed power comes out in response to the death rocket, and it will be Dad who picks up the trade kill onto the enemy mid laner, a 1-for-1 overall.
Yeah, Bogus just got way too overconfident. He had done that poke so many times going under the turret with his ult, but this time just going way too far forward. But Soj finds such a good rocket angle. Lost Cause just not able to flash it in time or wasn't up. Just wasn't expecting the Jinx rocket in general and picks it up, saving the play overall for Mythic Rising.
Yeah, definitely. If that Jinx ult did not come through, would have been kind of their one advantage slipping away, right? As Lost Cause able to pick up that solo kill. As it stands, you know, still the Syndra getting that is still big, right? Sort of allows her back into the game, get some much needed gold. And we actually do see the Mythic completion coming through for Lost Cause before Grandpa is able to complete his own.
Yeah, just that little bit of extra gold that he was able to pick up just barely puts him over. As now, yeah, Mythic's all over the place. Ashe, of course, opting into the Kraken first, but Kraken first is pretty much a Mythic, if we're gonna be completely honest.
Yeah, definitely feeling pretty strong right now at this point in the game is the Rat Pack. And they are going to have this second dragon coming up in about 15 seconds. So we'll see if that is going to be a high priority for them to secure. We do have Bagels moving towards the bottom side of the map right now. We also have Step Bro sort of in the general vicinity.
Yeah, and I love on the Rel the Radiant Virtue. It's just such a good item, but a gank coming forward.
Yeah, Grandpa could be in trouble here. It's going to be the Syndra flashing away so she does not get knocked up. The Lullaby will be blocked, I believe, by the wind wall there, but Grandpa's still not going to be able to make it out to safety despite investing the flash as well. And now it's going to be Xtekamumu finding the double stun with the Dazzle. In response, though, the cleanse comes out. The hostile takeover will not find the mark, and now Baby Marauder's too far up in the lane. No or already used the flash, not going to be able to get away. And now 4-2 on the scoreboard. The Rat Pack starting to pull ahead.
Yeah, I just so much happened there.
Oh, flashing for the feast, and Mom makes him pay.
That's what you pick the Cho'Gath for. You start stacking those executes. That's very big. But Dragon starting to go the way of Rat Pack. This is their second one. Infernal. They're just getting so much stronger right now because of these. As the soul will pop now. New map will change to Ocean, and that will definitely shake up the game a bit. But yeah, the Yasuo Wind Wall blocking the Lilia ult projectile almost was enough to save him there, but ultimately it was all in vain.
Yeah, just not enough to get Grandpa out to safety, and that's the risk you run when you play a pick like this that relies on putting on that pressure, right? On having that kill threat. You have to play aggressively in the lane, or the Yasuo is just going to lose value as you progress further, you know, later on into the game. It just becomes more and more hard or difficult to pilot that pick as opposed to the Syndra, who generally is going to find a lot of value just from throwing out those skill shots, right? So
Yeah.
Grandpa, unfortunately for Mythic Rising, does get punished there, and Stepbro, unfortunately, just doesn't really seem to have been able to contest where Bagels is going in these critical moments.
Syndra down bot now.
Crystal Arrow just going to go a little bit wide left. The scatter will connect onto the support. Flashing forward as a Mumu to find the Dazzle. And Baby Marauder still with no flash from before. That is going to be another kill over to Dragon Vin's Ashe, who picks up number 2.
Yeah, I mean, these picks, they're just finding so much bot lane with this Taric, just continual pressure, stun after stun. Renata, sure, she has her Q to pull him off, but the Q cooldown's just so long early, and now Jinx has to flash.
Oh, yeah, honestly, Dad Soj just sticking around a little bit too long. That turret was always going to go down. Forced to use the flash there, as well as losing the turret. Definitely stings. Now, you are next. Gonna be popping the ghost here, trying to get out. Oh, that was a beautiful apprehend. Pulls the Rel out of the sky. Might not be enough, though. The Magnet Storm sets up for the last breath. That's gonna get Grandpa the assist. Last hit goes over to Step Rose Rel.
It's a lot used, though. 3 ults. I'm not sure if Rat Pack want to. They may be able to contest this Herald with bot roaming up here. You have the ult advantage. You just have more buttons than them, and they might just have to give this.
Yeah, absolutely. Bagels has that lullaby ready to lilt. It's ready to go here. Ashe has been moved up from the bot lane as well. And Dragonman's just sinking that damage into Grandpa Bogus. The Yasuo on the run. He sidesteps the scatter, but I don't know if it's going to matter. The ball will not find the mark. It's going to be the minions, I think, that finish the job. Amumu picking up the kill on the Tarek. At
Yeah.
least for the side of Mythic Rising, they do manage to get that bot tier 1, but things going bad to worse, Cam.
Yeah, the Rat Pack picking that up. I mean, the moment you have to use 3 individual ults to pick off a single champion, you can't contest the objective just like that. And it's very good from the Rat Pack knowing that they use those ults, knowing that they have an angle to fight that, and not afraid to step up and show up.
Yeah, absolutely. They did not hesitate, and big props to Dragonvin right as well for that rotation. The fact that Ashe was right there, ready to go for that play, is definitely, kind of sealed the deal in favor of the Rat Pack.
Yeah, I mean, just having that Ashe ult right there, you don't have to rely on it flying across half the map before it even finds a target to hit. You get that almost assured hit if they don't have sums up and just able to pick up what they want. And now looking like a 3k gold lead up to Dragons. Things are most certainly getting bad. They need Mythic Rising, need objectives. They cannot let the stacking continue because an Ocean Soul may just mark things.
Yeah, it would be really, really difficult to fight against that if it does end up coming through. We have 1 minute until the next dragon will spawn. Would be, as you say, Cam, Ocean Soul Point for the Rat Pack if they do manage to secure it. So for the side of Mythic Rising, are they in a position right now where they can move in to contest this? You have Cho'Gath who will have ult up when this dragon spawns as well. So, if you can get Mamooge and Step Bro Maniac into the pit together, then you should be able to get a steal. Oh, last breath in the top lane. Lost cause potentially in trouble, flashing underneath the tier 1 to stay alive. That is Grandpa forcing out a big cooldown before this dragon fight.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say that it's very much fightable, especially if you can get a 5-man knockup with Rel. But Yasuo, Bogus, very scared down here. You can tell he wants this pick. He wants this dragon. Is unable to completely find it, but is still stepping forward.
Now we do have a fight in the mid lane breaking out as Stepbro does go for the Magnet Storm, but the Cosmic Brilliance coming out in response from the Tarek. Meanwhile, in the top lane, it will be Grandpa eventually able to find that kill, and the Feast will take down the Ashe as well. Bagel's now trying to make it happen, trying to carry through this fight, but already lost. The AD carry flashing in. You Are Next brings down the axe. It brings down the Noxian Guillotine, and that's going to be Renata traded back as Bagels prancing forwards, takes down the top laner as well. And now it is 3v2 in the mid lane, but Daddy Social going to get excited. The Zap not going to be finding any last hits just yet, and You Are Next with the assistance of Tarek stun, able to get that next kill onto the marksman, and it was a close call in the mid lane, but the Rat Pack come out on top.
Such a close fight. I mean, the pick in the mid lane, then you get the kill in the top, and now TPs are coming through. The fight's not over yet.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, Grandpa's right back into the thick of it. Amumu does find the stun. The scatter comes through as well. The last breath is not enough as Grandpa Bogus was completely surrounded on all sides, gets locked down and taken out once again after investing the TP. It was a desperation move from the mid laner, a little bit too far ahead of the rest of the team, and that means Ocean Soul Point will go over to the Rat Pack.
Oh, Jinx.
Yeah.
Soj tries to steal it, tries to make the hero play, but yeah, things are just getting worse, worse, worse. The kills go the way of the Rat Pack. The objective goes the way of the Rat Pack, and everything is just spiraling now. At this point, if we look at Bagels, he just, that moment, hit Rod of Ages fully stacked. He's now scaled quite sufficiently.
Oh, man.
It's very hard to take down.
Yeah, that Lilia's definitely going to have her second item on the next base as well.
But yeah, I mean, it looked so good. Mythic Rising find the angle in the mid lane. Bogus gets the kill in the top lane, but it doesn't continue. The fight just goes so long, which favored just the value that the Rat Pack brought. And then the Darius feeling super confident with Hextech and Mumu right there by his side. They take it. They take them down.
I mean, you kind of have to respect Dad Soj going for it, right? The fact that Mythic Rising were kind of in that desperate position where they needed to secure that dragon, right? They'd already lost a couple of members in the mid lane. They needed to buy time for their jungler to make it back. And so Daddy Soj saw an angle where maybe he could go for the big play, but in the end, didn't realize that the Darius still had flash. Ended up getting cut down. And perhaps Mythic Rising's hopes in this game number 1 along with him. It's not over just yet. It's not over till the Nexus blows up, as I like to say, Cam.
Yeah, but now the Rat Pack have created such a good position where the Mythic Rising, they can't freely give a dragon. They have to fight at the next dragon. It doesn't matter if they get picked off and lose a player. It doesn't matter if all their ults are down or all their HP bars are low. They have to fight, which gives the Rat Pack such a good angle. If they can keep this Baron up, they can also just choose to give a single Ocean Dragon for this Baron. Ocean Dragon's not a very strong individual dragon, but the soul is very, very valuable.
Absolutely. And that is kind of the crux of it, I think, is the fact that the Rat Pack have allowed themselves a position as this knockup will not land. Grandpa's chasing extremely far down this lane right now. He's basically light years ahead of his own minion wave. He's just deep, deep in enemy lines right now as the Yasuo, but he is not going to get punished as the Rat Pack is playing on towards the top side of the map at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, things are just... I mean, Rel... Maniac gets to pick up that Knight's Vow, gets to get the protection for Soj, but Baron is being started up. How will they contest it?
Grandma Bogus has no teleport, hasn't completed the recall. I'm pretty sure this is gone before the Yasuo can even get close to it. Cho'Gath is in the area, but doesn't have the flash, doesn't really have any way of getting into the pit, and the smite is good from Bagels. A good attempt again from Dad Soj with the Jinx ult, but it is not to be. And now the gold lead has stacked up to around 6K in favor of the Rat Pack, and they're about 90 seconds out on that potential Ocean Soul right as they get the cleanse off of Jinx as well.
Yeah, the cleanse gone on Soj, but also you're going to have this Baron for the dragon. So not only are you ahead, and not only are you forcing them to fight, but now you have the extra AP. You have the Baron. You can just send just Lost Cause out to solo lane. He can TP in whenever he needs, but...
Okay, maybe the moment for Step Bro, but no, he's just going to get CC'd up. Will go in, finds the 4-man Magnet Storm, but where is Yasuo? The last breath wasn't comboed, and the Rel is just going to get taken down on Mumu, potentially going to get traded back, flashes away, still goes down. Bay goes extremely low. The Lilia, though, with enough movement speed to get away, and the solo kill comes through in the top lane, and ultimately the gold lead will reign supreme in the 4v4 as well. It's going to be a 5-for-1 overall as the Rat Pack look to put the finishing touches on game number 1.
Oh, I can't help but imagine that fight. If Yasuo was there, that was a perfect engage from Maniac. It was exactly what you wanted.
Engage.
It's why you drafted what you did, but Bogus never getting to use his ult off of Rel engage. Just was never able to be in range for the situation. Could have saved the play, but now it's Rel versus the world, and I think the world likes those odds.
Yeah, the scatter is going to knock her out of the sky once again, and Stepbro, unfortunately, just hasn't been able to find the success this game that he was looking for. The Nexus will fall, Cam, right around 25 minutes. The Rat Pack with a very strong performance here in this first game tonight.
Oh, yeah, they showed up very well, showed what they can do, but it's not the end for Mythic Rising. This is the best of series. The most important question, it's not did you win or lose game 1, it's did you come back?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mythic Rising, you know, like you say, Cam, there is still more League of Legends to play tonight. They are not out of it just yet. But I gotta say, you know, Grandpa Bogus, you know, maybe we can say was a little bit of a factor for Mythic in the early game there. Was able to get out a lot of pressure in that mid lane and push Lost Cause back consistently for those first few waves at least. But besides that, it didn't really feel like there was too much going on for Mythic Rising in this game.
Yeah, Mythic Rising kind of felt just like spectators. I mean, they had constant prio, they had counterpick lanes, but it just ultimately didn't matter. Bot lane was forced to constantly respect Hextech and Mumu. Bogus he was pushed up, but ultimately was never able to find anything past the top lane gank. And so it's ultimately just rough. I mean, yeah.
And we do have to shout out Bagels here. with the
Oh yeah.
B1 Lilia pick, right? Highest KDA in the game, 2-1 and 11, 13.0 KDA, and some really great objective control coming out from the Ratback jungler this game as well, just like he was able to display in that one win last week over
Yep.
their previous opponents. But is that where your game one POG vote would go, Cam? Or would you perhaps look towards the bot lane maybe, as they had quite a nice laning phase for themselves also?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'd have to go closer to where I think you are and say that Bagels was the MVP for the Rat Pack. He was just all over the map. 13 of the 17 kills were from him. He secured a lot of objectives. Just very, very well done from him overall.
Absolutely. And now we will see Mythic Rising will have side selection for game number 2. We'll see what kind of adaptations are going to be coming out as they hope to keep their season alive, guys. The lower bracket here in the Targon division will continue right after this short break. All right, everybody, welcome back to the knockout stage here in the Targon Division playoffs. Our teams are almost ready to jump into this Game 2 draft. There are a couple of important things that we do need to take note of before we get too much into it. One of those things is the fact that Mythic Rising have elected to remain on the red side. Cam, what do you make of this decision?
Yeah, I mean, clearly they have they put a lot of value into counter picks as a team. They pick the Cho'Gath into the Darius. Sure, it didn't work out exactly as Mythic Rising were hoping, but clearly in draft they value that counter pick and they're going to look to do something similar there. I can only assume.
Well, do you think then that the Cho'Gath R5 pick is worth running back? You know, it wasn't like falling too far behind or anything. Like it was doing fine into the Darius, but it also wasn't really getting any huge advantages on its own. And we can't say that Mom Mooj had some nice feasts down the stretch to take down key targets and kind of keep Mythic Rising in it as much as possible. But I just don't really feel like Mythic Rising got a whole lot out of that R5 counter pick in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's the risk of taking red side. The main advantage you have is that last pick, and if that counter pick doesn't work out how you wanted, then blue side's almost always favored from then on out. But I feel something we should mention before getting into the game is that we have a sub coming on through. The main starter mid laner for the Rat Pack has joined the team yet again, had been subbed out for the first game, and after the win is back here as bans have started on through.
Yeah, I don't think we actually mentioned that before we got into game number one either. The fact that there was that substitute mid laner that was taking the rift for the Rat Pack. But as you say, Cam, that is no longer the case. The starter has been swapped back in here. Nekahito, their highest ranked player in the mid lane for the Rat Pack, looking to potentially close things out with a tidy little 2-0 tonight as the Lilia is going to get locked away for Bagels once again on the B1. The Jarvan, though, will come out in response. And honestly, I do like this answer into the Lilia.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind, Rat Pack banned the exact same 3 champions, whereas Mythic Rising, they banned 2 picks that popped up in the very last game. They're very scared of that sort of comp showing up again. But Senna now coming on through here, the Senna Jarvan, quite 2 strong picks.
Definitely. I am of the opinion, like many others, that Senna is really, really powerful right now in the current state of the game, and honestly has been for quite a while. So definitely exciting to see that pick locked in, but it can be punished, right? Especially if it doesn't get that preferred pairing alongside the Tom Kench. So presumably that will get locked away for the Baby Marauder on R3, unless the Rats feel bold enough to actually pick it away from them, which might be a bit surprising. Ezreal Tom Kench is not really a pairing that I would think we'd be too excited to see.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, once you show the Senna, you never really want to take away that Tom Kench because Senna has so many good pairings, but they will opt into the Tom Kench. And I mean, ultimately, the bot lane, the fasting Senna, that's going to be very strong. But the Ezreal pick, very much, I can only assume, picked to deal with that Jarvan E out of that Jarvan ult. Go and try and escape.
Yeah, certainly the case. So the Taric obviously not going to be an option this time around for Hextech and Mumu down there in the support position. Will be on the Nautilus this time instead. The Nautilus, I think, can struggle a bit into the Senna TK. He is a little bit vulnerable to getting poked down, and Senna can get stacks off the Nautilus pretty easily. And the single target lockdown that the Nautilus can bring is a little bit counteracted by what the Tom Kench does bring to the table, right?
Yeah, I almost feel like the Ezreal Nautilus is almost just a survive lane. Like, we just want to get out of lane with you guys. We're not going to try and flip the game. We're just happy to scale. If you come in on us, Nautilus will put you down. But the Vigar locked in for the mid lane.
Yeah, it looks like our phase 2 bans are identical to what we saw in game number 1. The Vagar pick obviously is different. It's going to be a very different look this time around for Grandpa Bogus there in mid.
Yep, Darius locked in, clearly was not phased by the Cho'Gath matchup. Happy to play it again.
Oh, what's
Rumble
this?
hovered, Rumble
Rumble
picked.
mid. Wow, Nekahito, the starting mid laner, coming in with a statement here, locking away the Rumble. Another extremely powerful pick in the meta.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, Rumble mid into the Vigar. I can't say I've ever seen that matchup, so can't say I know too much about it. But counterpick here for the top lane. Can Mythic Rising make use of the red side they selected?
Yeah, time to see. Is it just going to be the Cho'Gath again for Mahmooj? Run it back? No, this time around, the Jack's a little bit of a more aggressive option, a higher ceiling, you have to say, for what the Jacks might be able to accomplish in that side lane in that matchup against the Darius, but some more risk as well, right? If the Jax falls behind, there's not much he's going to be able to offer.
Yeah, kind of a bit risky there, but will ultimately act as sort of a neutralizer in a sense. You know, he's not going to want to brawl with Darius early, but he's most certainly not going to be upset with having to sit back and CS with a Darius, and is very happy to escape from the sort of things that Darius can do, can try and hop away from any ganks that Lilia may try, but ultimately, things have been shaken up quite a bit as opposed to last game.
Definitely the case. Yeah, I think, Mythic Rising, they have changed up quite a bit of their strategy from what they showed us previously, right? They do still have kind of this scaling carry bot lane with this Senna. It functions very differently than something like the Jinx, right? But it is still going to have that really big range and that really high damage output, as we get towards the mid game.
Yeah.
Besides that, Mythic Rising do feel like they've drafted kind of a more aggressive composition. They're maybe trying to play a little bit more in the faces of their opponents early on with that Jarvan pick.
Yeah, I kind of can't help but favor Mythic Rising. I think Vigar Cage, when you're playing Darius, or when you're just playing champions like this Lilia, Darius, Rumble, like, you want to move, you need to be in their face, but it's hard to get in and get out safely with that Vigar Cage existing. It lowers your options and almost forces you into a full send. It's very hard to get in, get out, so you just got to get in and find that angle.
That is very true, but by the same token, Vagar is ranged, but kind of just barely, right? He doesn't really have a whole lot of range, so you kind of do have to walk up into that potential engage range of something like a Lilia or a flash pull from the Darius to try and put down that cage and create that zone of control, right? So
Yeah.
while certainly the Vagar can potentially have some opportunities to really structure these team fights in a way that's favorable for Mythic Rising, I do think that Grandpa Bogus is going to have to be very careful on that pick, that he doesn't get caught out, because there are a lot of tools that the Rat Pack are going to have to work with to try and find that pick and burst down that squishy mid laner. And that does kind of bring us to the mid lane matchup, Cam. Vagar Rumble was, of course, the Rumble that was picked into the Vagar, so clearly this is something that Nekahito is going to be excited to play, but why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Rumble is just a kind of Rumble is just strong. You know
True.
what the Rumble can bring, and especially into sort of the Senna, you can bait out the Tom Kench ult by just Rumble ulting. A
Yeah,
trade of
very
cooldowns
true.
could get that out, and your Nekahito might just be expecting that he can survive the lane versus Vigar and provide his usefulness. But my real biggest concern is going down to the bot lane. The Ezreal Nautilus, yeah, they'll get out of the lane just fine, but do you want to escape this lane 0-0-0? I feel like the Senna Tom Kench will be
Yeah.
much happier handshaking that.
I am inclined to agree, Cam. I do think you are onto something there, but we kind of have to factor in the performances from last game as well, right? There were a couple of moments where the marksman of Mythic Rising, we saw as Daddy, I believe, in the marksman position, Dad Soj down there with a couple of angles where he was very, very close to getting excited on the Jinx, right? And possibly turning things around for Mythic Rising. In the end, obviously, wasn't really able to make it happen.
Yeah.
That is potentially an angle for Mythic Rising to come through here. But, the side of Dragonvid and Hextech were no slouches in that game number one either, right? If we recall,
Oh yeah.
they did actually have a lot of control during the laning phase and even had that first move up towards the top side of the map to help Bagel secure that first Herald, which really started to snowball the game in their favor. So, we'll have to see who does end up getting that control down there. If it does just trade completely evenly, then I do agree. I think that would be pretty favorable for the Senate Sound Couch.
Yeah, but as you brought up, that is something very important to keep in mind in such an unfavorable matchup. Tarek into Renata. That does not sound fun to play, but he kept just finding angle after angle. The
Yeah.
handshake from Renata could just never be on cooldown right at the time that they needed it. And as such, was able to, in a matchup where Hexacamumu shouldn't have been able to do what he did, he sure did. So I would not put it past him to find a fun little hook onto the Senna.
We'll have to see. Of course, Hextech not on the Tarek this time around. The Nautilus going to be a little bit of a different look. Wasn't allowed to go back towards that Tarek pick as it was banned away by Mythic Rising. So we'll see what goes down in that bot lane. And that pretty much covers, I think, our draft discussion overall. Cam, once again, I'll ask for a prediction from you. Which draft do you prefer overall? I think you were maybe hinting a little bit earlier that you were leaning towards Mythic Rising for this one.
Yeah, I think overall Mythic Rising just have the more solidified team fight angles. I think playing around each other and playing as five, they create many strong angles, but Rat Pack absolutely have the pick potential. But I think in a dead ball state, I'm going to have to favor Mythic Rising here.
Well, it's definitely going to be exciting, guys. And Mythic Rising, we need to see them come out on top in this one if they want to bring us to that third game tonight. If they want their season to continue, they need to show up right now in this game number 2 to make it happen. And it's going to be a tall order against the Rat Pack, who looked so on form in that game number 1. We'll see if the underdogs on paper, Mythic Rising, the 10 seed, are going to be able to do it, or if the Rat Pack will emerge victorious and get some revenge for the Shy last night. We'll see, guys. We're going to another short break. On the other side, game 2. Okay, everyone. Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. We've got a little bit of a cheeky level 1 coming out with the Nautilus CC. It's going to be Mami Muujin. Trouble right off the rip here, Cam, and he's going to get taken down. It's going to be first blood for the Darius, exactly like we saw in game number 1.
That's unfortunate. Mooj just doesn't respond to them. Walking in had to have been tabbed out or something. Just felt safe, checking something, checking DMs, and next thing he knows, he's got the whole team in his bush.
Oh, dear. Yeah, Mythic Rising just not ready for him tonight, perhaps. As from the Rat Pack, we got to hand it to him. It's a pretty good level 1. You have the Nautilus. You have that really strong level 1 champ. They clearly came into this one with a game plan, and they were rewarded.
Yeah, and now the Darius up a kill is able to back immediately with it and will start the lane with the longsword. Once again, the counter matchup is winning early. Things could look bad for Mooj if they continue to spiral.
It is looking a little bit dangerous. And that first counter-strike's not going to land either. We do have both of our junglers going to be pathing towards that top side of the map to potentially influence what may become a very volatile top lane. Dredgeline connecting level 1 down here as Baby Marauder taking a big chunk of his HP bar.
Yeah, we'll chunk it down. Obviously, he has the grasp, he has the Doran shield, and he has the Senna healing. He is most certainly going to sustain that back, but definitely just looking rough overall, but can definitely continue to turn this around. The pullback, the apprehend to cancel. It's just so clean, isn't it?
Yeah, these Darius E's have been very well timed from what we've been seeing so far tonight. Clearly, you are next with a lot of comfort on this champion.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, looking around Rumble, going the Ignite means that there is no TP for the side of the Rat Pack. They're playing that confident, playing that much for their lanes. They're up the game. They're just like, let's win it right here.
Yeah, they are up against those 2 TPs for both solo laners of Mythic Rising. We'll see what they're going to be able to get done with those teleports if they're going to have to be used defensively during this laning phase to just try and sustain, to try and stay even versus, some potentially very aggressive laners in the Darius and the Rumble. And it's worth mentioning the Jarvan situation now. I think, Mom gets pulled back, has the counter strike, should be okay here. It does manage to get the wave most of the way. And I don't know if You Are Next is... Actually, the Darius could probably hold this wave in an awkward position if he wanted to. The Darius is also pretty low HP, so it's a little bit of an awkward position for You Are Next, honestly, as well.
But I mean, yeah, you always have to factor in You Are Next has that ghost, and now he has the jungle up in his lane.
True, and the Jax is in a very awkward state where Mahmoud is getting zoned off the minion wave, now in danger of falling even further behind this Darius. Stepbro will manage to make it down to that South River and trade off the Scuttle Crabs, but very smart pathing here from Bagels. I think caught vision of Jarvan moving through the mid lane there, was able to identify that Maniac did not take all of his camps on the top side, moves in there, steals away the Krugs, and now Dad Soj in the bot lane, flashing away, will not escape. And it's gonna be the Rat Pack across the map, making it happen once again here in game number 2 as Dragon Vin just dancing around the catfish. They've gone fish and they will find their prey in the mid lane, though. We will trade 1 for 1 as Jarvan and Rumble both gone down, but now Bagels flashing over the wall will make that another advantage play for the Rat Pack.
I mean, now you're sitting up 2k gold at 4 minutes. Everyone on the Rat Pack has a kill. Everyone equally sharing these kills.
Bagel stealing away the chickens here. Maybe this was a bit too greedy, though. Does get caught by the Event Horizon, and that is going to mean the kill back over to Grandpa Bogus. The Veigar picking up number 2 is actually going to be pretty accelerated here.
Yeah, picking up 2 kills with the CS lead and the first strike will put him in a very good gold position versus this Rumble, but ultimately you're still looking at a big gold deficit.
Yeah, at least in the individual mid matchup, Veigar's up about 300 gold, right? So if we had the, whatever the sponsor is for the lane economy snapshot, right? At least there would be that little red bar there for Mythic Rising.
Oh, yeah. We should get Amazon to sponsor us. That would be.
Yeah, well, that is a thing that could, I guess, potentially happen at some point in the future. We'll have to see. But clearly, oh, that is another dredge line landing in the bot lane. Maybe Marauder still holding on to the flash. And again, the sustain in the Senna TK lane is going to mean that they can shrug off a lot of that damage. The Ezreal is not really very good at bursting or at like continuously pushing people out of the lane, right? He's just kind of tosses out those mystic shots. Well, with the Nautilus and with the jungler in the area, maybe that can change. Dad Soj, though, able to trade back, and Dragonvin actually shift and flashing away to stay alive. But with Bagels here, this should be, I think, a couple more kills going over. Ezreal just has to play this nice and safe, stay out of range of the Senna, and these kills surely will go over. Stepbro is here, but a little bit too late to the party. The Jarvan not in time to save his bottom lane, and now will be forced to retreat back underneath the tier 1 turret.
Yeah, the gold lead just growing more and more. They push forward thinking that they can kill the Ezreal, but in doing so, confirm that they cannot make it out alive. They try and flip it all, but ooh.
You Are Next brings down the axe, but Mamuj just barely enough resistances with his own ultimate there to survive.
Nikahito happy to just ult the lane there, get his nice reset. That is the advantage of Rumble, is you can just ult the wave and reset, and it kind of acts as a mini TP in a sense.
You just get that free reset basically with the equalizer. Yeah, absolutely. Gets Nekahito that little bit of tempo that the Rumble would otherwise be missing without that teleport summoner spell, right? Like you're just saying. So a nice move there from the Rumble, and is going to be back in lane in time for when the Rift Herald spawns, right? If they do want to make another move towards that neutral, would be both early neutrals once again going the way of the Rat Pack, just like in game number 1.
Yeah, Cloud Dragon going the way of the Rat Pack. The early movement speed will be nice for just traversing the map. Hextech will be up next. Can't help but feel we've seen some of these dragons before.
It's going to be Bagels, actually, hoping to make another appearance into the bot lane, but Senna TK is just a little bit too safe at the moment.
Yeah, we'll just be happy to survive it, as they have not... Oh,
You Are Next. Potentially might be next, but no. Will be okay for now.
this guy likes playing on the edge.
He really does.
Very scary, but this is now his first back.
Yeah. Mamuj will be able to get this wave shoved in. Does have control over the top lane right now. So this is, I think, where we want to see Stepbro put the foot on the gas a little bit and actually commit towards this Rift Herald. You have the push in the top lane. You know Darius isn't going to be here, but just takes the Scuttle Crab. Gonna look for a little bit of an invade now. The Root will connect onto the Ezreal, who manages to create some space with the Arcane Shift. True Shot Barrage coming out. And it's going to be the Depth Charge as well. Gets the knock up onto the Senna. And she is very separated from her Tom Kench right now. As Baby Marauder diving the backline, trying to zero out this Ezreal, and will be able to get him down with the last lick. But it's a trade, as Hextech was able to take down that Tom Kench in return. Has the level advantage now over Daddy Soj, who is still just level 5 for now. And that does mean that the Nautilus should be able to get the minion wave shoved in. And it'll just be that 1-for-1 in the bot side.
Oh, I mean, it's just so sad. Hextech thinks that Dragonvin has the damage, is going to kill Marauder, but it just doesn't happen. Chases down the Senna, but goes too far forward, has to back off. Will get the revenge kill ultimately, but Ezreal having to die and take that recall. Obviously still up gold still up CS on the Tom Kench, but that's just quite to be expected.
Yeah, 3 of these last hits have gone over to Hextech Nautilus. So definitely not ideal for the Rat Pack, but still they have been able to do pretty fine. That's going to be a flash in for Bagels. Finds the 3-man lullaby, and You Are Next brings down the axe on all of them. The counter-strike comes out to buy just a moment for Mamuj, but it's not going to nearly be enough, as that is going to be another team fight win for the Rat Pack, and it is going to be their second neutral on top.
It was just so good. Lilia Bagels just going in, getting the sleep on everyone. Then You Are Next gets the increased damage by waking everyone up with the Q. Just gets so much base damage out there. And if you look at Bagels' inventory, he's now stacking Darkseal along with having the Rift Herald.
Yeah. This Lilia picking up right where she left off in game number 1. Bagels locking it in, B1 once again. And making Mythic Rising regret, honestly, the fact that they allowed him to do that, right?
Yeah, it's just, oh, I mean, once again, it looked like Mythic Rising were first to the objective, first to set up, but ultimately getting out team fought right in front of it seems to be a common thing we're seeing from this matchup.
Yeah, and I gotta say, what I think the answer was there was they just needed to go for the Rift Herald a little bit earlier. Like, You Are Next was there for that fight. If they had gone for the Rift Herald, 30, 45 seconds before the bot play had even happened, then they probably would have time to take it down before You Are Next could make it back over there for the play. But as it stands, Grandpa in the mid lane, potentially going to get taken
Oh,
down, burning down to the dot from Lilia, but will survive. And Hextech Amumu, a little bit too long underneath the turret, will actually give over the 3rd kill of the game for Veigar.
now Muj in the mid lane.
Oh, Malmouge is here. Level down on the Rumble, though, and is just taking so much damage right at the start. But Stepbro coming in with the EQ and the Cataclysm, able to trade one back onto the Rumble. Flashing now for the Lance. Not quite enough damage just yet. And Bagels with the movement speed is able to get out of that situation. So 1 for 1 in the mid lane.
Yeah, as I mean, ultimately is still going quite the favor of the Rat Pack. You're still up. All this gold is now a gank down bot. Could spell defeat for Soj.
Lullaby connects onto the Senna. The Feast, or the Devour rather, will come out. Gives a big old shield. Will it be enough? Bagels going down extremely low. Has to get out of range. And Dragonvid will be able to move in for the last hit. Broader used the Devour defensively. Doesn't have it to take down the Lilia. And that's going to be a double kill over to the Ezreal. Stepbro desperately trying to go back in for the knockup. But it's just going to be one more kill going over Dragonvid now for 1 and 4 on the Prodigal Explorer.
That puts you over 4K gold lead. I just said it was 2K. The amount of gold that just went their way, and now the Rift Herald down bot. The Senna all
Almost.
does a little bit of damage, but the fight breaking out.
Mamouj went in with the counter-strike, but now that means there are no defensive tools left, and it's just going to get burned down. A nice move from Nekahito into that top side.
Wow, they are playing the map like crazy. They outplay the Herald fight, turn it immediately into an outplay, or not an outplay, but a 1-for-1 in mid lane, into an immediate outplay in bot lane, and now an outplay in top lane. They are just all over the map. You have to be scared from every angle.
Yeah, the Rat Pack clearly firing on all cylinders tonight. Really putting the pressure on, like you say, Cam, across the map right now. And Mythic Rising are quickly running out of room to maneuver here in this match, in this series. They're going to need to find some answers soon. We do have the 2nd Dragon alive right now. We have push in the bot lane for Mythic Rising, as well as we see Senna TK moving over into the river. Also, Stepbro on this bottom side of the map. I think they need to get this Dragon to start trying to turn this game around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you can stop this Dragon stacking, that's kind of your play at this point, and it does look like it will go that way. I'm sure the Rat Pack are not too mad about having to lose this Dragon, as now the Mountain Soul shows its face, and whoever will be able to claim that will most certainly be quite unkillable.
Yeah, definitely a big one there, that Mountain Soul. One of the more valuable, I think, souls that you can get. Particularly, of course, will be really, really useful for people like the Nautilus, like the Jax, who gets all those resistances from the ultimate, right? For the Tom Kench, of course, and for the Jarvan, kind of the main initiator there. So we'll have to see how the rest of these dragons do end up getting distributed. But this gold lead is extremely substantial. 6K now is the lead for the Rat Pack, as they were able to accrue some more advantages for themselves while that dragon was going over.
Yeah, for sure. And 6K gold lead is the number now. No turrets going the way, but Rumble hanging out could be an angle here, but they will back off, play it safe. But you can just tell how clumped together that Mythic Rising have to play now. They keep getting picked off. So now they're just trying to play around each other. And that's such a scary thing. The team with the TP advantage being constantly picked off, it's not looking good. But next dragon up in 3.5 minutes. Probably what they're gonna play around. I can't imagine Mythic Rising looking for a Herald angle.
Yeah, we do have Step Bro in the top lane right now, and you are next. Still, of course, without the TP. Didn't bring it into the game, and is pretty low HP underneath this tier 1 turret. Looks like gonna play respectfully, respecting the possibility of the dive. Gonna sack this minion wave, make sure he's not giving over any unnecessary gold to Mythic.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if we look, Lilia is just stacking everything. Rod of Ages, Mage Eyes, TP in the top lane to help keep things protected. But I mean, Mythic Rising are here. They can look for an angle, but will they find it?
Surely is the target. They're down so much gold. It's dangerous to look for the team fight right here. Dragon Vin holding onto the shift for now. And the Jarvan not fully committing either. Just both sides staring each other down. The Rift Herald surely going down pretty low here. Is going to be in smite range for Bagels soon. But Step Bro also in the area looking for the auto attack into the smite. Does manage to get the objective, but the team fight is looking all Rat Pack all the way. They've already got their first 2 kills of this one. The knockup comes through. The Devour to try and keep the Jax alive for as long as possible, but it's just not going to work out as it ends up being a 4 for nothing. The Rat Pack absolutely wiped the floor with them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was just so goodly played. I mean, it just, from the looks of it, Jarvan goes in, gets the stun, but just no one follows up. And it just kind of tells you the goal difference. But then the Sentinel!
Okay, the shutdown does end up going over. Dragon Vin not able to get out of the way of that one. That's some much needed gold. You are next, though. Potentially also in trouble. Sidestep on the Dark Matter. Grandpa Bogus not able to find that Q either, and nobody is cutting off the retreat path. You are next. Manages to get that turret and get out.
But yeah, as I was saying, Jarvan jumps onto the Ezreal, gets the CC go. Hold on a moment.
Is he out? Maybe he's not out. There's a Stride Breaker. Is going to be able to get a little bit of healing from the Decimate as well. Cataclysm committed, but Step Bro, you're down 3 levels. It is just barely going to be enough. And You Are Next actually didn't quite have the Noxian Guillotine available either. So good move there from Step Bro. Maniac get a little bit more gold back into the coffers of Mythic Rising.
Yeah, I mean, stealing the Rift Herald was so good, but the Mage Eye stacks on Bagel is so much more worth it.
Oh, this Lilia is so scary. Oh, the EQ to get away from the Watch Out Eep was very important. That's going to be Bagels flashing in. Finds the sleep onto the center. The True Shot barrage over the top as well. Surely will be enough damage as Bagels does manage to get that kill. And now Baby Marauder trying to run back that play from earlier where the Tom Kench was able to zero out the Ezreal, but he just doesn't have the damage anymore. And that is going to be a couple of more kills going over to the Rat Pack just as things were starting to look up. And Mythic Rising had found a couple of picks. They end up giving them right back over. And now the depth charge underneath the turret, and the Jarvan's just going to get one tapped in the top lane. Nekahito's getting a solo kill while all of this is going down. And it's just looking pretty doomed at this point for the side of Mythic Rising, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, 8.6k gold is about what the lead is. Mountain Dragon up in 14, and Mythic Rising, are nowhere in any position to contest this. So now, not only are you dealing with an 8k gold deficit, but you're dealing with a Lilia with Rod of Ages, stacking Mountain Dragons, and 25 stacks of Mage Eyes. Are you ever going to be able to kill her and get those stacks off? That's the question.
She's real speedy, this Lilia. Very, very difficult to catch. You know, it's hunting season, but the deer is the one doing the hunting in this particular instance. Hunting for her first Mountain Dragon of the game now. This one will go over without a contest. And for Mythic Rising, I mean, they do scale really well. So, you know, there's a silver lining there maybe. If they just can keep the base intact for the next 15 minutes or so, then, you know, Veigar is going to be sitting on like 500-600 AP. We are going to have some one-shot potential there. Senna's going to have a whole bunch of range. And they are going to have that engage still with the Jarvan and the Jax as well, right? So, you know, if we do go late enough where the gold stops mattering as much, this game could still be playable for them, but just seems like so much to ask from this position.
Yeah, and especially when you're dealing with a champion like Senna, gold was not a priority for her. It's going to take her so long to get to a full build scenario that things are just looking dire. They're looking grim. You need a miracle play. And a miracle play is most certainly not going to come from a good performance. It's going to come from a throw.
Yeah, I think we have reached that territory. You know, the gold lead is approaching 10,000 now. Shirley has been summoned up into the top lane. We're looking for an objective bounty on that top tier 1, but you are next in position to defend, and the rest of the Rat Pack is moving up as well. The hemorrhage stacks have been stacked up on Mahmooj, and the Jax is going to be the first casualty of this fight. You are next, could be next, but no. Oh, he does eventually go down to Grandpa Bogus, who teleported into the play. But it's going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of the Rat Pack once again. At least the turret goes down. So I guess that's kind of 3-for-1.5, but this is going to be the Baron at 21 minutes. The T1 Baron in honor of our new world champions. And the Rat Pack really doing them proud.
Yeah, and I mean, the entire time, Nekahito's just bot lane working on a turret. So they get a turret, but Nekahito starts working on the next one. Is possibly in some trouble here now. Tanks a lot of turret shots.
Could definitely be in some trouble. Going back in, though, with the flame spinner, just as Tom Kench dives away from his Senna. Nekahito sees the angle to go in. It will be the Flash Lick Ignite. Comes out from Baby Marauder to trade that kill back, but Nekahito playing that about as well as he could.
Yeah, I mean, works on the turret a bit there, gets the kill onto Soj. Not sure how much he was worth there, but ultimately it's gotta feel good pulling out something like that.
Yeah,
and
although the Rumble has lost the Baron buff now, so that is potentially a bit awkward for Nekahito.
It is the risk of running that side lane while they're Baroning, but the 10k gold lead, I'm sure he's still quite very happy with how this game's going. The more the Mountain Dragons continuing to stack these armor items, like this Zanya's, this Abyssal Mask, getting more and more powerful.
Bagel is just going to be dancing around him here. This is why the Jarvan can work. He puts the deer in the cage, but the deer just has so much damage. You are trapped in there with her. Just blooming blows all over him. Dragon Vince not going to get taken down. Grandpa Bogus doesn't have enough damage, and it's just going to be all the Rat Pack once again taking over in yet another team fight. Jarvan looking to recall in the bush. Does manage to EQ over the wall, but Ezreal also has a dash. Dragon Vince easily able to follow. Looking for that last hit onto the Jax as well. Nice spacing, gets away from the counter-strike, denies that counterplay opportunity for Mahmooj. It's going to be 4-for-0 in the bottom side of the map with Baron already on. This could be the end right here.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you just look at this Lilia, most people on Mythic, they have, you know, they have one item mostly, except for Bogus, who has 2. Lilia practically has 4 items.
Yeah, she's pretty fed. I would say that Bagels, remember our game 1 POG, having a significantly that's going to be the EQ flash, does get landed, but Jarvan just sent himself straight into the meat grinder. That is going to be another kill for the Rat Pack. The flash for the Veigar ultimate, the primordial burst will be enough to get the job done onto Dragon Vin. Grandpa Bogus picking up another one. They managed to shut down the very bloodthirsty Nautilus as well. So we do see Mythic Rising are not completely out of this game just yet, but the base really is very much in tatters, Cam.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's a little silly from Dragon there. Chases the Veigar, but Veigar always had one-shot ult opportunity on him. But we'll have to see. Nekahito, you can see, is waiting here. They do not want them to set up Dragon. They cannot let this little silly one-off play turn into Dragon for Mythic. They have to stop what little bleeding has caused, but still, 13k gold lead. Not much could happen except quite the exceptional team fight from Mythic to turn this game around.
Yeah, Nekahito and Bagels not encountering any resistance around this South River portion of the map. Looking like they're going to easily be able to secure this Mountain Soul point for themselves. And that's with only one lane left to play on, really. That's going to be the mid lane, the last inhibitor turret left standing. And there are a couple of minutes away until the next Baron still. But realistically, Cam, I don't know if the Rat Pack really need it.
Yeah, I mean, they're very happy to receive it. Getting tankier and tankier by the second. Nautilus call out, though.
Okay, the dive abyssally will come through in the pick. will be going on to a Mumu. So that is exactly what Mythic Rising need, right? They need to find these picks, these odd number fights. They need to catch people off guard to try and claw their way back into this one. But just onto the support, it's not good enough. They need more.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if that's all you're gonna lose is your support, then Rat Pack will be very happy that is all
Oh,
they
look at this
lost.
damage. Step Bro just trying to take his red buff, been losing 3/4 of his HP bar for his trouble. Now with the Jarvan pushed out. Fortunately, Baron not alive just yet, so that can't be rushed down just yet. Only 90 seconds away, though, and Mythic Rising still struggling to find any answers.
Yeah, I mean, now Ezreal builds the quick silver sash, which of course is giving him the extra magic resistance from the mountain dragons. You get to build some of these more luxury items that give
Step Bro looking for it. We'll find the Cataclysm. Arcane Shift was still available, though, and that's going to mean the Ezreal easily gets out of that engage. Step Bro's going to pay for that one with his life. Step Bro was stuck in his own design there. As a lullaby will come through onto the Jax. The Apprehend will be denied by the Devour, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. The mid lane is going to get sieged on pretty soon. They might not even need that mid lane, actually, as the pretty sizable wave here in both top and bot. Dragon Bin shifting away from the Jax as the super minions start to crash onto the Nexus turrets. Grandpa Bogus desperately trying to zone them away with the Event Horizon. You are next potentially going to get burst down on the front lines. Will get taken out. Bagel is now forced to flash away on the Lilia to stay alive. And Mythic Rising with a valiant stand at the Nexus keep their hopes in this season alive for now.
yeah, I mean, it's a very small win. You've turned the 13k gold lead to a 12k one. You are still not in a great position, but Baron is up in 5 seconds, and you are next is up in 20. This could be their angle.
Oh, we'll see. I think this is the call that you have to make, right? When you're this far down in the game, you have to go for the crazy play, because if you just play things out normally, if you go for the high percentage plays from this position, you're not going for anything. There are no high percentage plays left. You got to Hail Mary this one, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately choosing to play it safe, but I don't think they're in a position to play safe. They just possibly determined that it was not worth it, and they prefer to fight the soul. They find the Israel.
I mean, if they can find another pick, that could be the angle that they need, but it's Ezreal. He's just able to Arcane Shift away once again.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Jarvan gets pulled out of the EQ. The dredge line from Amumu is perfect, and now Rumble is coming in to roast him. It's going to be Baby Marauder who goes down first. Mamu teleporting into the play, desperately trying to make it happen. He's flashing on top of Dragon, but he manages to get one kill back for that, and is all that the Jax will find as the flames are spitting, and Mamu is down in the dirt. It's going to be Lilia that does get burst down. The Primordial Burst coming out from the Veigar. But now Grandpa getting apprehended. Will be able to flash way back over the wall to get away from that Darius. And a 2-for-2 team fight. Pretty fantastic for Mythic Rising. They're able to hold on for now. But the Super Minions are sieging onto their bot inhibitor. They have to get back to base to defend. And Mountain Soul now is going to be on the table in the next minute.
Yeah, I mean, Mountain Soul's going to be the shot they have. If they cannot stop the Rat Pack from claiming the soul, from becoming almost unkillable, more armor magic resistance, but the Baron being started up, this is the risk. They can turn this Baron right into the soul, making the fight so hard. They don't have a jungler, but I just don't think it's going to be answered.
It's looking pretty Jover, Cam. I gotta say, this is going to be the Baron into the Mountain Soul, most likely, as you were just mentioning. And that is not really going to mean that this game is playable anymore for the side of Mythic Rising. It's going to be the Rat Pack just walking it in, scurrying into that enemy base and taking down that Nexus.
Whew. Dragon feeling confident there, just dropping on by.
Step Bro's EQ combo happened to be on cooldown at the exact moment that Ezreal came flying over the wall, so Dragon Vin ended up being totally fine there, but was a little bit of a risky maneuver.
Yeah, and now the real dragon being started up, the soul being threatened. This has to be their fight, but they do not find it.
Absolutely burned down. That dragon was one shot, Cam. And now there's nothing left here for Mythic Rising. They'll head back to the base to try and defend, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, now you just get the threaten down. There's only one lane you have to pay attention to. You send all 5 down, and it just looks too strong. All of these plays that have gone wrong inside of Mythic space, it's because they were a little split up. They were focused on everything, but clumped together, I just don't see how they can falter.
The third inhibitor will fall without a contest as Mythic Rising just watching in despair as their hopes for the season slip away from them. First Nexus turret under fire as the Rat Pack close in from every direction. There has to be a last-ditch engage here somewhere. Stepbro, I think it might be up to you. The Event Horizon will come out. They get the stun onto the Nautilus, but the little buy in response, the counter engage is there, and the Vagar's already been taken down. The Tom Kent is going to get his head cut off, and now push back onto the fountain. Dad Soj will drop. It's only Stepbro now left alive at the end to watch his kingdom crumble to ruin as the Rat Pack advance to the next round of knockouts.
So well done by the Rat Pack, winning the series 2-0 and ultimately winning both series without much contest. They show that they deserve to move forward. They deserve a higher ranking, and they will continue pushing and continue fighting for that.
Absolutely. I think it was really surprising for a lot of people last week, Cam, when we did see the Rat Pack getting taken down by the 11th seed, right? Ranga Tea Time with that huge upset in the first round of playoffs, taking down the second seed in this division, the Rat Pack. But obviously, the Rat Pack, they took that personally. They came back this
Oh,
week.
yeah.
They came in with a plan. They came in ready to play, and they absolutely made short work of the 10 seed here. Mythic Rising quickly dispatched them in this 2-0, like you were just talking about. And they look good now heading into the rest of the playoffs. You know, if there is a team that could make the lower bracket run, it probably is this one.
Yeah, I mean, I expect the Rat Pack to, to put up a performance next match and to just keep throwing, just sort of to keep fighting, to keep doing well, and to keep pushing forward. And ultimately, I think both of these games, Bagel's performance has to be mentioned. This Lilia pick,
Yeah.
he gets it through in game 2 and has an even better performance on it than in game 1.
Absolutely. I think it's a pretty easy player of the game vote once again here for game number 2. You know, Dragonvin 13, 4, and 12 on the Ezreal. That's a pretty flashy KDA, but it really did feel like Lilia was doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this one as well. Particularly, you know, if we think back to that first Herald fight in the topside river where Bagels saw that angle, flashed in for the 3-man sleep. That felt like it was really the team fight that started to explode this game number 2 in the Rat Pack's favor.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I also want to make a note of Bogus's performance this game. Once again, a decent early game start, just like we saw in game 1, but still was able to convert that into more. He found executes with his ult. He found good angles. I mean, he had a giant CS lead, but ultimately just wasn't able to convert it into the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And commiserations to Mythic Rising, right? They did. I think we did really like their draft here for this second game, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
the fact of the matter is, it felt like the momentum from game 1 was just too much in favor of the Rat Pack. The side of Mythic Rising ended up falling pretty far behind pretty early on, and that is just not really a position that they wanted to play this draft from. They kind of needed to stay more even through the early game, right, to try and get their carries to scale a little bit more before they were forced to fight around those dragons. It just did not end up coming together for them this season. But hopefully they can be proud of what they were able to show, and they can come back stronger next season whenever
Oh,
that
yeah.
does happen to give us another showing here. But big props to the Rat Pack. They are, like we mentioned, going to be moving on here in the knockout stage. Their next opponent will be the loser of Mythic Academy versus Now What. That's going to be the 12 seed versus the 4 seed. So
Ooh.
potentially a pretty difficult opponent coming up next. If the 4 seed does end up getting upset also in that upper bracket, but we'll just have to wait and see. Too early to call
Yeah.
anything just yet.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, just once again, congratulations to both team. They both put up fights, but ultimately, Rat Pack came out ahead.
Yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts on tonight's matchup, Cam? Anything else you wanted to mention?
I mean, not much else. I think we've done a good job covering it all.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that is going to pretty much do it. So I don't have anything else in the schedule right now, guys, in terms of when that next stream is going to be. But you already know, just keep those eyes and ears peeled. We'll get that information out to you as soon as we have it. For now, that is going to do it from us tonight, from myself, from Cam here, from the entire production team at Style. Thank all of you very, very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night.